Hey guys, hello everyone. Today we're going to go over how to spend your first $10,000 on advertising your business in the USA. It doesn't matter whether you already have a budget for advertising or if you plan to start your business and then advertise it. This video will be useful for anyone who wants to understand how marketing works in the USA, how to finally build a proper marketing department with a proper lead generation system in their business in the USA and Canada, and how marketing in America is structured overall. So make sure to watch this video until the end. Leave your comments, and let's get started. My name is Andrei Spicy. I am a Belarusian living in Boston. Over the past 6 years, I have promoted more than 150 projects. Most of them are local businesses in the USA and Canada. I also work with franchises and online schools. I have a small marketing agency and I work with clients on a regular basis, helping them promote their businesses. And over all this time, I have gathered a huge amount of knowledge about how to promote your company from scratch, even with minimal budgets. But in this particular video, we will discuss how I would spend $10,000 on advertising my business if I were starting completely from scratch. So let's imagine that we are promoting a cleaning company. But overall, the same strategy is suitable for absolutely any business, especially for those with a niche market. So let's start with the realities. Advertising in the USA is expensive, or rather, it's more expensive than in any other parts of the world. Wherever you launch, in any services, you pay for impressions. The exception is only directories for reselling leads, such as TaskRabbit, Thumbtack, and so on. These are services where you simply buy a ready-made lead, and the service sends you the client's contact, you call them and sell. You can't build a serious, normal business on such services because, firstly, the competition there is solely based on price. Because there are many contractors there, clients choose only the cheapest contractors, not the highest quality ones. Therefore, selling with a good margin, with an average check, or with a high check on such services simply won't work, and you can't build a business on that. And secondly, the leads there are just expensive, and sometimes they turn out to be duds. That is, you paid for a lead, and they send you an empty contact the client doesn't answer. Therefore, if you want to engage in a normal, serious business, you need to gradually move away from these services and set up your own lead generation department, your own system that constantly supplies you and your business with applications. In general, what traffic tools are there? Yes, it's advertising on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Google Ads, TikTok. In all these services, you pay for impressions. The cost per 1,000 impressions differs in each service. This cost per 1,000 impressions is called CPM. And on all platforms, for each advertiser, for each business, the CPM is unique. So, for some, the CPM might be $60 per 1,000 impressions, while others pay $15 per 1,000 impressions. CPM also depends on different platforms. There are platforms where the CPM is a bit more expensive, and there are platforms where it's cheaper. If you work with an experienced marketer in the American market, your CPM will be approximately like this. There should be a table showing the average cost per 1,000 impressions across different channels. But this is not an absolute value. In each niche, depending on the level of competition and your offer, this can always change. I am sending the average value according to official statistics. And as you can see, advertising on Facebook and Instagram turns out to be much cheaper than, say, on LinkedIn or YouTube. There is also TikTok, but the results there are still unstable, so I do not recommend using TikTok for traffic. Among the tools, there is also advertising on Google. There, you pay for clicks to your site. At the start of a business, I generally do not recommend using this tool because it just turns out to be expensive. Because all advertisers immediately rush to Google, the cost of a single click to your site can range from $15 to $70. If you want to appear on the first page of search results and you have a very competitive niche, the cost of just a click to your site can be $150, $170, $200. In B2B niches, the situation is especially dire. There, just the clicks cost a fortune. Therefore, at the start, when we are testing a hypothesis, I do not recommend using Google at all. I recommend trying advertising on Facebook and Instagram. So, we use advertising on Facebook and Instagram to identify all hypotheses, test different formats, and then relocate our most successful strategies, a good website and good ads, to Google advertising. In that case, it will pay off. So, what strategy would I choose to start advertising my business, assuming I haven't launched any ads before and don't know what works, what doesn't, and which tools to use? I would use the following strategy. First, I would prepare a really great, conversion-focused ad, like a 15-second video where I explain the value of my business and address pain points. In other words, I would prepare a professional, high-quality video following the principles of marketing. Next, I would choose to display ads on Facebook and Instagram because, again, for me, this is usually the cheapest and most cost-effective way to get traffic. That's why I would start with Facebook. Then I would direct the client to a quiz. This is a small mini-site consisting of a questionnaire where the client answers questions in exchange for some bonus, a price estimate, and so on. I will insert some examples of quizzes somewhere on the screen. The goal of the quiz is to help the client form their need by answering certain questions. And to turn this into an application so that the application comes to us, we call them and make a sale. And fourth, with this quiz, I would collect initial contacts and simply call the clients. I would just bluntly call and try to sell. For testing a hypothesis, this strategy is the best fit. In fact, most entrepreneurs stop at this stage. That is, we simply have a quiz, direct traffic to it, collect applications, and sell. But we still have so much money left in the advertising budget, so we will scale up. In this section, we'll discuss how we need to scale up, how to improve our results, and generate more applications. First of all, we need to enhance the conversion rates. We want the applications from the quiz to be of higher quality, so the sales department doesn't complain, and so we can occasionally call without worrying about bad clients. Therefore, we need to create a landing page. It's a typical website with about 10 screens that fully conveys the value of your service. How do we create the website? We gather the main objections of clients, their key pains, fears, all concerns, and with the help of a copywriter, we create a very cool structure where we address each of these concerns and objections with our responses. We end up with a super, conversion-friendly, awesome landing page where once you enter, you won't want to leave and you'll definitely feel like buying. On average, such work costs around $2,000 to $2,500 with contractors. This will include layout, copywriting, design, but it will be a website on Tilda. Many worry that if you suddenly want to create a more professional and cool website on another platform, you can use WordPress. In that case, the cost of website development simply doubles. You'll need to spend about $5,000 on developing a standard landing page because a layout designer is added to the process. In any case, I don't recommend worrying about creating websites on WordPress in the first year, or even in the first 2 to 3 years, because you shouldn't expect great SEO optimization. For now, work on a regular Tilda or any other website builder. The site shouldn't just be for the sake of having one. It should be a truly great conversion-focused site. Therefore, to avoid spending a lot of money on an advertising budget, get a consultation with a good marketer in the American market in advance. For $150 an hour, you can refine all the wording and make the site more conversion-focused. The higher the conversion rate of your site, the less money you'll need to spend on advertising. You can show the resulting site to potential clients, get their feedback, and simply ask if they would want to purchase your service after seeing the site. That's what we will do together. So now we are ready to scale up. We can now redirect ads from Facebook and Instagram to the already functioning great site, so we move them from the quiz to the site. You can also place the quiz on the site to increase conversion rates, and we add advertising on Google. The test budget for Google advertising will be from $3,000 per month. This is the absolute minimum price at which you will feel any significant effect. Additionally, you need to allocate about $1,000 to $1,200 for the contractor. Google definitely works better than Facebook and Instagram because the clients there are more targeted, but also more expensive. In Google, when a person wants to buy a service, they already have a formed need, they go to their phone, type cleaning services near me, see your site, and make a purchase. Things are a bit different on Facebook. The clients are colder. They are just scrolling through their Instagram feed and seeing. They're like, oh, well, I'll give it a try, I'll check out. What makes these guys different? That's why clients from Google are more targeted, but they can be 3 to 4 times more expensive. Nevertheless, it's a very cool way to scale. With just these 2 traffic tools, I'm confident that our sales department will explode. If we suddenly have any issues with Google, there are only 2 possibilities. Either the site isn't converting well, or the contractor messed up. In such a case, we'll cancel the cost of our mistake, $700,000. Next, we need to connect supporting tools. These will be Yelp and Google Maps. These are regular listings that you can create yourself. You can take a mini course or watch videos on YouTube. But the point is that sometimes you also get inquiries from these supporting listings. Yes, there's not a large flow. Yes, they can sometimes be off-target or irrelevant, but nevertheless, they are free inquiries. Why not use them? A contractor who sets up both tools for us will cost about $700. Well, that's it. We still have a budget that we can continuously reinvest in Facebook and Google while just having the supporting tools to give us some reputational boost. What are the biggest mistakes entrepreneurs make in the early stages? Instead of focusing on reliable sources of traffic like Google and Facebook, they allocate money for branding, logos, a beautiful website, and a bunch of unnecessary things that don't increase applications. Another big mistake is investing in cheap contractors. Most likely, these are contractors who will just be learning on your business. Therefore, at the initial stage, it's important not to skimp on a good contractor, not to skimp on the advertising budget. For now, we set aside expenses for logos and identity. This is not a priority right now. Another mistake is focusing on SMM and some free traffic sources which don't work at all for a new business and have a long response time. The same goes for SEO. Don't rush into SEO if you haven't been in business for the first 2 years. Only after 2 years should you start worrying about SMM and SEO. Of course, this can vary depending on the niche, but in most niches, SEO and SMM are not needed at all. Remember that advertising is not brand promotion, and you shouldn't even think about the brand at the early stage. Advertising is a tool for generating leads. Everything you do to advertise your business is to generate leads. You can schedule a 15-minute discovery call with me, where we will discuss how to use paid advertising in the US and Canada, specifically for your business. That's it. Thank you for watching. See you in the next videos. Bye-bye.